Hello and welcome back to CinemaDailyUS. I'm Serena Davanzo, and even though the 77th annual Festival de Cannes has come to a close, we still got some reviews to talk about. I'm going to be talking about The Shrouds. The Shrouds was directed by David Cronenberg. It is a French and Canadian film, and it was one of the in-competition films. And now that we are post-festival, we could say that The Shrouds did not win anything in competition. Interestingly enough, in an AP video post the premiere of The Shrouds, Cronenberg stated that he thought the response was thoughtful and meditative. Like, of course, people were clapping when it came out, but he said the response to it was more thoughtful and meditative than like, whoa, or at least what I understand what he was saying. And with that, I'll be reading the description of The Shrouds from the Cannes website. Karsh, 50, is a prominent businessman. Inconsolable since the death of his wife, he invents GraveTech, revolutionary and controversial technology that enables the living to monitor their dear departed in their shrouds. One night, multiple graves, including that of Karsh's wife, are desecrated. Karsh sets out to find the perpetrators. With that, you can tell that this film was made with a lot of grief and passion behind it, because David Cronenberg's wife actually passed away, and this was like his way of like feeling that grief, and it was inspired by his grief. So you don't need to go see like Cronenberg do an interview and discuss that, because you can just feel it. So what I liked about it was you could feel the grief and the passion behind it, because it meant so much to him, as it was his way to grief. So you could feel that when watching this. I would say the first part of the film, like building up, it's a very interesting concept. It's sci-fi, and I'm a big fan of sci-fi and mystery. I like a bit of mystery too. So like it has a good build up. So like the first part of the film, it's building up. Then when Karsh, the main character, starts trying to figure out who desecrated these graves, that's where I think it went downhill, but we'll get into that in a minute. Another thing that I really liked was the lighting and like some of the camera angles. I thought those were very interesting, and like the lighting, you can tell like it's very dark and dreary, kind of like when you are grieving a family member who's passed away, a friend, or even a pet, everything seems kind of dark. The lighting was just so, it just really put you into it, which was something I really liked in that aspect. But with that, those are really all my likes. Dislike wise, as I mentioned, when they start investigating, that's where the story went downhill. And I'm a big proponent of the story, the characters, the emotion behind everything. And the story just wasn't doing it for me after that. It was kind of just like convoluted at points. It was like, I don't even know how to accurately describe. There was some ideas, there were some ideas as to who desecrated these graves that actually made sense to the plot, and I feel like those could have been more developed, but it kind of just felt like we're throwing all these different things in to keep the audience guessing when you didn't need to. You could have had a couple here or there, but it felt like there was just a lot thrown in to try and keep you guessing. It's a little graphic at points, so warning if you watch it. And the idea of watching your loved ones, decay is just a little unsettling to me, but it's an interesting concept for a sci-fi film. So I went into that with a grain of salt. But mostly my biggest thing was the storyline, and how like them trying to figure out kind of just got more convoluted, because the characters themselves are not like super investigative or detectives by any means. So it kind of made sense why it was all chaotic, because they didn't know what they were doing, but it just got convoluted, especially towards the end. There was like a major left turn where it was like, oh, but maybe it's the Russians or the Chinese. And it was like a good 15-20 minutes talking about that. And I'm like, nothing came out of it. And I was just like, why did we waste that time? It's a long film to begin with. The film itself is 116 minutes, and you probably just could have cut that out and saved people time. It just got convoluted. So I don't like redundancy, and I think that's the most accurate word to describe them trying to find who did this. They could have had a couple to kind of just like keep people guessing, but I feel like the real plot ones that really push the story, I feel like that should have been more developed instead of being like, oh, we're going to put all these different ones and they're not going to go anywhere. So I feel like that was where it went downhill for me. The film had a great setup, but then it went downhill. So I think I liked it more than other people did. There was a lot of very mixed reviews. I heard some people loved it and thought it was one of his best works. And then there was people that were like, this was the worst film in cinematic history. It was very, very polarized with the response to this film. I think I was in the middle because, again, I saw where it could have been, but then it didn't. So with that, I'm going to give this the rating of a C. I hate to say that, but I'm going to give this a rating of a C because it had a good setup, then it just went downhill and didn't do it for me. But with that, that is the end of this review. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.